us for 3 decades to work to get to where we got to finally in 2013, and as you'll find out, there's more work to be done. But that's just to say that who the people represented on stage are just a sliver of the entire grassroots movement of Native women across the country that made what happened in 2013 possible. And for those of you who maybe wouldn't know, but our Native women face rates of violent crimes and sexual assault 2.5 higher than any other population in the United States. If you're a Native American woman born in this country, 1 out of 3 of you will be raped at some point in your lifetime, and you're 10 times more likely to be murdered than any other woman in the United States. And so it's with that backdrop that these women fought for their legal rights and the legal rights of their children and their children's children. And so with that, I leave you with no further thoughts than we're here to present Sliver of a Full Mare.
I was on the floor of the house.
At my home in Fairfax.
On the reservation in Cherokee.
In Alaska.
Watching CNN.
C-SPAN.
Facebook. Watching the vote.
Working for votes.
I couldn't breathe. I was so nervous. All I could do was pray. What's the vote?
30.
We got 30?
We need 218.
We need your vote.
You got my vote.
31.
Thank you.
62.
My whole life. I've dreamed of this.
85.
I prayed for this.
114.
You got my vote, Tom.
Thank you.
115. Everything depends on this. What if we lose? We can't lose.
Not an option.
201.
201.
Oh my God. I just prayed.
To the Creator.
215.
Holy smokes.
216.
We got this.
217.
Is this for real?
218.
We did it.
218.
218.
They're still coming.
More votes.
235. 246.
250.
285.
286.
286 votes.
I couldn't believe it.
It didn't feel real.
I call Jax. Terry was the first to text me. I just don't text him.
We started crying.
I got a city was texting. I was crying so hard. I had to scream.
I scared my neighbors.
I did victory dance.
I prayed for my sisters.
It just seemed unreal. It felt like a dream. It was amazing.
It was humbling.
It was a miracle.
What about Alaska?
Next time. I promise.
Why were we left out?
This is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
This is the story of my sister.
And my daughter.
The story of my mother
And her mother.
and her mother's mother.
My grandmother.
My granddaughter.
This is the story
Of my life.
of my past.
Of my people.
This is my story. And I'm here to share it. At first it was hard to share it.
I had to keep it a secret.
I was too ashamed. Too embarrassed.
Too afraid.
Scared. Forgotten.
I was silenced.
I thought I'd be judged.
For something I never did.
But then we came together.
And I realized
We're not alone. Together.
We
stood up. We spoke out. Together.
we worked for change.
And together. We stopped the silence. This is my story. If I wasn't a Native woman, my story would be different.
If I didn't live on my reservation,
My story would be different. If I wasn't a citizen of a sovereign Indian nation,
my story would be different.
I live in Alaska, and when it comes to justice, that shouldn't make my story different.
this is my story, and I'm here to share it. My mother, she is a very beautiful Indian woman. And my stepfather, he's a white man. And he was very abusive, ungodly. The earliest I remember, I was only 4 years old. We were in this trailer house and my mom was screaming. I'm under the table. I'm screaming. The light's off. The light from the outside is coming through the post of the window. And the door is here. The couch is here. The TV is here. And the gun rack is there. And the table in the kitchen is right here. And I'm under the table. My mom is screaming, "No, David, no!" And I see him grab the the gun. And he starts to beat my mother over the head with the butt of the shotgun until the only screams that could be heard were mine coming from under the table. And I think he beat her to what he believed was to death. He put the gun back on the rack, he called her a bitch, walked into the bedroom, slammed the door, and sat down on the squeaky bed. And then I heard the thud of his cowboy boots as he lay down, squeaking again, and he went to sleep. So I crawled over to my mother. I'm crying so hard because I think she's dead. And my mom, she was in a white shirt, denim jacket, denim jeans, and white canvas shoes. And of course, the blood splattered all over her shirt. So I wiped her blood-strewn hair from her face and put my face down to her mouth to see if I could feel her breath. And I can't feel it. So then I start crying again. And I make myself stop crying. I put my head down on her chest to see if I could feel it rising. And it was. So I grabbed the blanket out from under the couch and I covered her up. And I sat by her all night. And if I fell asleep, I would get mad at myself. You know, hurry up and check to make sure she's still breathing. It's not that I could have saved her. It's just that I didn't want her to die alone.
Lisa isn't an actor. This is her story. Lisa is one of our strong hearts.
There were times he'd be chasing us. I would get her out, and I'm still just a little baby. And there was this field. And so we'd hurry up and we'd get to it and I'd say, Mom, the moon is full. So I make her get down. And we would crawl across this field until we got to the woods. And then I would take her to my hiding place. And we'd listen to him, to his screams that would echo, his screams about how he was going to kill us when he found us. And she would lay down and she would go to sleep. And if I thought I heard him coming, I would wake her up and I would take her deeper into the woods. Because he had been in Vietnam. So when I reflect back, he was afraid of the woods. He was afraid of the night. In the woods, the night, we were safe. The moon was our sanctuary, if we could make it.
Hello. I'm Terry Henry.
Do you eat something?
Yeah, I'm Terry Henry.
Okay.
Is this the office on Mountain Skidsman?
You're looking at it.
There's no carpet.
Is that a problem?
No, I just thought.
You thought that because today's your first day, we just roll out the red carpet for you?
Well, I thought there would be carpet.
You work for the federal government now. You'll learn to do without. All right, here's everything you need. To start with, I want you to track RFPs that we send to the tribes. VAWA provides for a significant chunk of change. VAWA, you do know what that means, right?
Yes.
Violence Against Women's Act.
Right.
We work to stop violence. We don't promote it.
I get it.
You'd be surprised how many folks don't. Okay, so this is the funding office. We provide all the funds to the tribes for their DV programs. Of course, we don't, at least not yet, have an efficient mechanism that tribes can use to apply for grants. Oh, and our reports to Congress, you'll be responsible for writing those. Basically, you'll be doing all of the policy work for the implementation of the VAWA grants in Indian country. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, a few.
Oh, good, and welcome. We do so much work with tribes. It's nice to finally have an Indian in the office.
One sunny afternoon in May, I was returning my daughters to their father. I dropped them off and made sure they were inside the house and that he was home before leaving. But I walked out to stand beside my car. I stayed in the car with the door locked, but the windows were down. He suddenly lunged in through the car window and snatched my bag, removing a small address book.
leaned down to pick up the keys, he kicked me. And I rolled down a little hill. At the time, my youngest daughter was standing beside my car at the bottom of that hill. When I rolled down, I rolled into her and she fell. I was sitting on the ground holding her, and he grabbed her hands and he pulled so hard that I was sliding across the ground. So I let go. He went immediately to the police department. He got there before I could.
Can I help you? I need a protective order for my wife. She is a danger to her children. What makes you say that? She hit our daughter, knocked her down, left her on the ground. I'm sorry, but we don't have jurisdiction over non-Indians on the reservation. She's enrolled. Oh. Just fill this out and process it. Thanks.
So he was able to get a protective order against me for him and for my other daughter. He knew that I wasn't a danger to my children. It was so humiliating for me to be sitting at the police department with leaves and grass in my hair, my clothes were torn and dirty, and I was just begging them to do just anything they could to help me. The next day, Ruth's form shaped like the bottom of his shoe where he kicked me. There must be something you can do.
He's not enrolled.
Can you issue a protective order?
You don't have jurisdiction.
He has my children.
And a protective order against you. Whatever you do, don't go near.
He had my children. All I had was a bruise shaped like his foot.
I found a rat this morning. Yep, rat. Underneath the desk. Ripped open bag of chips.
Do you want me to buy you another bag of chips?
No, I was hoping you'd have somebody come in and take out the rat.
You think you're the first person to find a rat in this office?
Do you have a few minutes
To talk more about rats?
to talk about the grants we're giving tribes?
What about them?
I'm not sure they're making much of a difference.
So give them to different tribes.
That's not the issue.
What's the issue?
Our women are raped. They go missing. They're murdered.
And our tribes give money to things so they can deal with that.
Yes, but after the fact.
The fact of what?
We come in after the violence has already occurred. By the time we walk in the door of one of our programs, they're already a
Right,
victim.
we're not a victim unless something has happened.
We're just doing triage. We need to do something more.
I know you're new around here, so let me explain something to you. It's a miracle you can give tribes any funding at all. A lot of women worked really hard in '94 to get the Violence Against Women Act passed. You should be very thankful for what you have.
My name is Lenora. That's my English name. I'm Yupik from the native village of Amana. My people have been here for thousands of years, from the time of the glaciers until now. And when I look around me, I know that my ancestors sat on the same rocks, hunted the same seal, camped along these same rivers. They made their campfires where our fires still burn today. But in the last 60 years, since 1959, our whole world has changed. Growing up, I didn't have contact with the outside world. When I was born, the state didn't exist. This wasn't Alaska. This was our home. The home of my grandparents and their grandparents before them. Amana, where my family and I live today, this is where we came to fish. We didn't live here year-round. We camped here during the summer. And whatever we caught the whole winter, the ancestors survived. And they're how I survived. That's what Amana means in Ukraine. This new state, when they came, they took away our fish and our food and our children. They took away our language and our sense of identity. And in exchange, we got alcohol. And with their violence. We never experienced anything like this before. Our women weren't really sure what to do. For the first time in our lives, we faced epidemic levels of domestic sexual violence in our villages, in our homes. Here in Amana, it's very isolated. There's no roads to connect us to other villages. And our women, when they're abused, they have nowhere to go. So in 1979, I worked to open the first and only Native women's shelter in the state of Alaska. Of the 229 tribal villages in Alaska, we're the only. It's very important that we, especially in the winter, the wind chill can get down to minus 70 degrees. It's very expensive to keep the electricity going, but in 2005, the state of Alaska withdrew all of our funding, and we were forced to close the doors. I thought we would remain closed forever. What's this?
Enough to keep you open.
Terry,
Take it. It's not for me, it's from the DOJ grant office.
when we had to close our doors, I put 3 mothers on the street.
That wasn't your fault.
We have to do more to give them shelter.
Lynn?
Susanna, me. You're here now and you're safe. That far room on the right, Matrona put sheets on the bed. And after you get settled in, she'll make you sleep.
Yeah.
Susanna's from Cutler.
So she had to get on a plane just to get here?
You're the only dated shelter in the state.
There's nowhere else to go.
She got a protection order in Potluck against her husband who tried to kill her. And now the state of Alaska refuses to honor it, and that's why she's here.
But it's a protection order. They have to honor it.
No, they want to enforce on that one. The order comes from our tribes, or one of our villages.
How can they refuse to enforce a protection order?
They say we don't have jurisdiction.
What are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing? I'm packing.
Did I give you yes to take time off? Our report to Congress is due at the end of the month, and I'm going to need you to help.
Yeah, I'm not coming back.
What?
I'm going home to Cherokee.
Oh, I suppose the rats were just too much for you.
No, I'm just done applying Band-Aids.
Our Band-Aids make a difference. They provide your people with funding
We
and
don't need your funding.
tribes do. They want to provide shelter, food, counseling.
Right, but we have to do more than just give women counseling.
Oh, you're right. Please, stand back and let me wave my magic wand and make all the violence in the world go away.
You know what? We don't need your magic wand. We need jurisdiction.
My people, the Southern Ute, we are the only tribe within the 2 tribes in the state of Colorado. We've been here since creation. Here is where my grandfathers hunt for deer, elk, and buffalo. Here is where we gathered seeds of grasses, chokecherries, and fruits. In the spring, we planted corn, beans, and squash in these mountain meadows, and then we harvested them in the autumn. Then late in the fall, when the air turned cold, my family would move out of the mountains into sheltered areas for the winter months. That was when stories were passed down to the children. When our grandparents told their grandchildren who we are and where we come from. Winter was when marriages were arranged. When a man and a wife came together in a sacred union. It was a sacred time. And we celebrated a sacred time. I was born on the Southern Ute Reservation. My mother was Southern Ute, and my father was a first-generation Yugoslavian, a white man. I lived my whole life here on the reservation with my parents. When I was 36 years old, I started dating a non-Indian, also a white man, believing he would treat me like my father had treated my mother with love and respect. I was in love, and life was wonderful. And after the bliss of dating 2 months, we were married. He moved into my house and lived with me on the reservation. To my shock, just 3 days after our marriage, he assaulted me. I thought after the first time it wouldn't happen again, but it happened a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. I called for help so many times, but no one could ever help me.
If you're so upset, why don't you make one of your calls? Oh, you don't want to call him anymore? That's okay, baby. Let me make the call for you.
Child police, is this an emergency?
Well, not exactly.
Can I help you?
And I just want to apologize because, you see, I got a little carried away this morning and, well, I hit my wife.
Who am I speaking with?
Hit her pretty hard, you know. She started crying.
You enrolled?
Well, I'm a white guy. Is that a problem?
You've called before.
Yeah. Well,
Nothing's changed. If you're not enrolled, we don't have jurisdiction.
Huh. He says he doesn't have jurisdiction. You want to talk to him? Thanks for the help, officer. When will you finally get it?
He can do whatever he wants.
They can't touch me.
I picked up the phone.
I made a call.
I called every time.
No one responded.
I must have called 100 times.
Please, can't you do something?
The answer was always the same.
We can't.
He's not enrolled. He's not
not
an Indian.
We don't have jurisdiction.
But I kept calling.
I called the police. Please, help.
Every time.
911.
911.
911. I need your help.
But every time I called,
No one showed up. They would just wrote a report. They let it go.
I remember looking at those police reports in 8-point font. Years later, my mom asked me to be her advocate. Pull all of my stepfather's police records. And there were pages, all of those 911 calls, in 8-point font. Individual calls. They would have been at least 7 to 8 to 9 pages. That's how many 911 calls were made to her. And he was never ever once, ever convicted for anything he ever did to her.
It wasn't always this way. There was a time before.
Before 1978, we had jurisdiction.
Before Oliphant.
I remember when I read Oliphant.
Couldn't believe it.
My dad called, said, you gotta read this,
The Supreme Court issued a decision.
and it's going to change our lives. 1978,
The Supreme Court said we can't prosecute non-natives.
non-Indians, anyone that's not enrolled.
The court said we can't prosecute them if they come onto our lands and commit crimes. 1978.
Oliphant, they took our
jurisdiction. It wasn't theirs to take.
We have to take it back. My stepfather, my husband,
He's non-native.
not enrolled. After Oliphant,
He began to realize.
After Oliphant,
he figured it out. After Oliphant, he knew.
It didn't matter if I had bruises or cuts
Or scrapes.
or a broken bone.
Because of Oliphant, he could kill me, and it wouldn't matter.
OCO, and thank you for having me here today.
CO.
Sorry?
This is Eastern Band. We don't say OCO. You're not in Oklahoma anymore.
I have a question.
Yes.
How long will this take?
Oh, with what I'm prepared to present, not more than 40 minutes.
No. I mean the campaign. How long will it take to get this bill passed? You know, with the tribal jurisdiction provision.
Well, with this Congress, who knows, it could take quite a while.
Quite a while.
Months? Years?
Well, nothing's guaranteed.
Well, we've been working on this for years.
I'm well aware.
We sponsored the wiping up the tea ceremony when Senator Biden was preparing the draft of VAWA 2005.
I remember that.
And you think the time is now?
Yes.
What makes us different than 2005?
We don't want to put money into this Congress if Congress isn't going to act for the 5 years.
We need them to act now.
You need them to act now.
This has nothing to do with me.
Terry here is co-chair of the NCAI Task Force on Violence Against Women.
We're proud of her appointment.
It has no effect on my service to
This
council.
whole VAWA thing, I know she's very passionate about
What's
it.
your point?
VAWA was her pet project.
We need jurisdiction.
And we tried in 2005, and then again in 2005 for the Tribal Law and Order Act.
Your point.
Why should Eastern Band be the one to put the bill for
If
everyone?
I may interject,
Oh, please.
I know it's a lot to ask, but you won't be the only ones.
No, I know. Samuel Bell stepped up, and Chief Anderson has promised to support the Choctaw.
What about Muskogee Creek?
When it comes to this, we have to stop thinking about this is my tribe, this is their tribe. Divide and conquer's been the other side's philosophy since 1492.
What are our chances?
To get a bill passed, it's going to be difficult.
But not impossible.
We couldn't get the Dems on Indian Affairs to put it in
That
tribal
was
law.
not a campaign.
If we can't win the Dems, we'll never reach the Republicans.
This is different.
I'm just trying to be honest with you there.
Councilwoman Henry, to you, Mr. Whitehawk, and let me tell you something about our tribal council. Our tribal council doesn't do things because they're possible. We do things because as a tribal council, it's our responsibility to protect everybody in our community. Every citizen, every man, woman, and child. If we can't protect our own women, how can we protect our community? I mean, think about it this way. If we can protect a woman being battered or abused in her home, or the house next to her, or the house next to that, or the children, and that protects everyone. It's the entire community we're trying to protect. So this isn't about what we can do, it's about what we should do. And what we should do is fight for this Congress to recognize the inherent sovereignty we have as a tribal government to protect our own people.
I think we should put it to a vote.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Whitehawk, you're authorized to lobby on behalf of the Eastern Band Cherokees for the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, specifically to advocate for the passage of the proposed tribal jurisdiction provision. This meeting is adjourned. We'll send you a contract.
Thank you.
Steve,
We expect a full court press.
You'll get nothing less.
Very difficult.
This will be difficult.
Yeah, you know what's difficult? Listening to women who've been raped, abused, battered, asking for help, and having to tell them there's nothing you can do because you don't have jurisdiction.
I know.
Yeah, I'm sure you think you do.
I was tribal police before this lawsuit.
Oh,
I get a call before I can help her. I have to ask, where is she? Is she on land as tribal trust?
the land that's been
She
sold.
could be on fee land.
And you can't just ask where is she, you gotta ask who is he?
Is he Indian?
Or is he enrolled?
He's not.
We don't have jurisdiction.
Means he never will answer the phone. I'll get us 2 tickets to DC for Monday.
Good.
You're coming with me.
No, I'm not.
I need you to walk the hallways up there with me.
I think you're confused. I hired you. I'm the other way around.
I'll do the work, but I need you to be the voice.
Why me?
I'm Dennis. No one cares what I think or say. You're a Native woman in a leadership position. You're Councilwoman Henry.
Call me Terry.
I'll have my staffer look and get started on this right away.
You really do think now is the time?
Before this year's election.
Well, of course.
The Republicans desperately need women in
And
2012.
we can capitalize on that.
Is there someone you could reach out to across the aisle?
Crapo agreed to co-sponsor.
Who's that?
Mike Crapo.
You're gonna take this to a Republican?
Mike's good on Indian affairs.
No one's gonna listen to a Democrat from Vermont. Okay. I'll have my staffer send you a draft of what we put together.
And you're serious about this?
We are 100% with you.
Yeah, but are you really with us?
I'm not sure what that means.
When you can't get 60 votes, you name who's gonna be on the chopping block.
That's not how this works.
Yeah, don't get cheeky with me,
Terry,
young man.
Terry,
If you talk about
Terry,
the platform interview, you know who'll be the first to fall off? Not immigrants, not LGBTQ, it'll be our Indian women.
That won't happen.
This bill is not gonna protect anyone if it doesn't protect everyone.
I promise we won't remove the tribal jurisdiction provisions.
Well, we got the chair of the Judiciary Committee.
What's next?
We're scheduled to visit Murkowski.
What's wrong?
Just got an email from her staffer.
Yeah.
Senator, thank you so much for moving things around in your schedule so you can speak with me.
what we need to discuss?
VAWA,
I've made my position clear.
we know you intend to vote for
There's
it.
a woman in the Senate who isn't.
The draft's still in committee.
It's scheduled for a vote next week.
The tribal jurisdiction provision.
What about it?
Well, the folks back in Juneau,
Your boss.
the AG thinks it was some edited.
Committee's already agreed on the language
What about an exemption?
for Alaska.
What a great idea, Senator. I wish I thought that myself.
I can't just tell the committee I changed my mind.
Tell them Alaska's different. You and I both know there are no tribes left in Alaska.
So Senator Cornyn
And it's completely opposed, I know this, I read his website.
will never get his vote.
So why are we here?
Because we need silence. He has influence.
The senator can't meet with you, so it'll be me today. I'm sorry, and you are?
Terry Henry, I serve on tribal council for the Eastern Band Cherokee.
And she's the co-chair for the National Congress of American Indians Committee on Violence Against Women.
Okay.
We're here to talk about Leahy Crapo. If you've had a chance to read the bill.
Look, I'm just gonna stop you right there and be honest with you. We brought our pajamas.
Your pajamas.
We're willing to stay as late as we need to work this out.
I guess I forgot mine.
What's on the table?
But we'd like to propose some language.
We took out the jurisdiction provision.
We replaced it with federal delegation.
That won't work.
We need jurisdiction.
Well, Congress can't recognize jurisdiction in Indian tribes.
Why not?
It's unconstitutional.
No, it's pre-constitutional. We existed as sovereign nations before you even had this document you call a constitution.
The Supreme Court is very clear in Oliphant. Tribes don't have jurisdiction. I mean, over non-native. And you, of course, have jurisdiction over your own people.
Just not over your people?
If this is your attempt to charm the senator into voting for your bill, you're failing.
We've got the votes we need.
In the Senate, but not in the House.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did Senator Cornyn get a vote in the House too?
Look, we're here to negotiate a deal with you. And you want to negotiate with us. So you don't have to negotiate with him.
Maybe I want to negotiate with Cantor.
Cantor won't let this through the House. No way, not in a million years. Now, Senator Cornyn would talk to him, he has some influence. Of course, you have to agree to replace jurisdiction with delegation.
Never.
Fine.
Thank you for your time.
You might pass the Senate, but you will never pass the House.
We can work on tone.
Much of fun.
We're asking people to give us something we want.
No, Dennis. We are asking people to give us back something they should have never taken.
I agree with that. But it's 2012, not 1877. We have to take what we can get. Where are you going?
To talk to senators, get votes.
Harry?
Don't worry, I'll use my southern charm.
Oh, that's terrible.
I know, but it's the truth.
I have no idea.
Senator Brown, you have a minute?
This is coming from Crapo?
I'm in a rush.
Yes.
Right.
I'd like to talk to you about VAWA.
Senator Heller wants you to know
The tribal jurisdiction provision?
you have his vote.
Thank you.
You have my vote.
For Leahy Crapo?
Yes.
Thank you. Senator Collins?
You want to know you?
Dennis Whitehawk. I represent the Eastern Band Cherokee.
And
You
you
wanna
want to talk to me about VAWA?
Yes.
I spoke to Patty.
But we have some questions.
I like her answers.
The tribal jurisdiction provision is very important.
You have my vote.
Thank you.
Senator McCain
You need to
agrees.
be able to protect our native women.
You have his vote,
Thank you.
but he told me to tell you he just doesn't think it's going to pass the House.
Senator Snow.
We'd like to discuss VAWA.
Sure.
Jurisdiction's critical. Without it.
And you have my vote.
Thank you.
And the vote of every Republican woman in the Senate.
That's great.
You look surprised.
Well, just
You didn't think a bunch of Republicans would support you on this. Let me tell you something. We may be Republicans, but first and foremost, we're women.
That's Republicans. I talked to Brown.
I spoke to Snow.
Kate Stafford.
Heller.
They said yes.
We might have enough votes.
Senator Moran wanted me to tell you.
No!
Senator Rubio, with all due
We
respect.
can't vote for this.
You won't change my
Did
mind.
he say why?
If you can't negotiate with Corin, you can't negotiate with
Let
him.
me get this straight.
Big government and inefficiency.
The tribal jurisdiction provision restores jurisdiction at the local
I'm
level.
very sorry.
You are taking away authority from the state and giving it to the
That's
feds.
not all what we're doing.
No, I read the bill.
Senator Shelby wanted me to tell you
Kane's voting for it.
I'm Senator Lee, not McCain.
his vote is now.
Well, does he understand?
I like our meeting.
Senator Toomey,
Yes?
I'd like to talk to you about
Oh.
I have a meeting with Senator Wicker.
Well, he's not
VAWA.
here.
The tribal jurisdiction provisions are very important.
I understand your
Will you be
position.
back?
I've made up my
We
mind.
said we would discuss VAWA.
I've already discussed it with him.
My vote is no.
He's against it.
No.
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
We just don't agree here.
Well, thank you for your time.
Leahy says the votes this week.
Do we have enough?
I don't know. I'm worried we don't.
likely to happen the next day or so.
That's great.
Tribal jurisdiction provision won't be in it.
What?
It's been taken out.
And the GLBT provision.
It's still in there.
And immigrants?
Still in.
But the Native women.
We just don't have the votes.
There's just no traction on the tribal jurisdiction provision.
If we fight for it now, we'll lose the whole
And
thing.
we can't afford to lose the entire VAWA.
What about my women? My citizens, the women I represent?
We are so sorry.
We wrote letters, we came here to speak.
It's been decided.
Senator, please. There must be something you can do,
And we hold a press conference.
and that would make a difference.
If you agree to speak.
Or not.
But you're a Native woman, and the Senate needs to hear a story from a Native woman.
I don't know my story.
No, I don't. But I know you need to share it.
I don't know what to say.
You're a tribal leader, are you not?
Yes.
You're in here talking to me about your treaty rights? Isn't that what VAWA is all about? It really is my honor today to introduce to you Vice Chairwoman Deborah Parker. Very courageous in coming forward today to talk personally about why this is so very important to her and so many other Native American women.
Thank you, Senator Murray, Senator Boxer, Senator Klobuchar. Good morning, my name is Deborah Parker. I'm an enrolled member of the Tulalip tribes of the state of Washington. I'm currently serving as the vice chairman of the Tulalip tribes. Yesterday, I shared with Senator Murray the reasons why the Violence Against Women Act are so important to Native American women. I did not expect to be sharing my own personal story. I'm a Native American statistic. I'm a survivor of sexual and physical violence. My story starts in the 70s as a toddler. Maybe you're wondering, how do I remember when this occurred? I was the size of a couch cushion, a red velvet couch cushion, about 2.5 feet long. As one of the many girls violated and attacked by men that had no boundaries or regards for a little child's life, or mine. The man responsible was never convicted. In the early 80s, at a young age, I was asked to babysit my auntie's children. During the late hours of the evening, she arrived. She wasn't alone. Instead of packing my things to go home, my sense was to quickly grab the children. The 4 or 5 men that followed my auntie home raped her. I had to protect the children in harm, and I couldn't save my auntie. I only heard her cries. Today is the first time I ever shared this story. She died at a young age. Perpetrators were never prosecuted. A majority of our girls have struggled with sexual and domestic violence. Not once, but repeatedly. My question for Congress was and has always been, why did you not protect me?
Why didn't you protect me or me
Why didn't you protect my family? Why is my life
and my life?
and the life of so many other Native American women less important? I'm urging Congress to uphold the United States Constitution and honor our treaty agreements. Thank you
Thank you
for standing up.
For speaking out.
We support you.
What do you need, Deb? Anything to eat?
No, I'm fine.
You've been at it for days now. I haven't seen you eat a thing.
I'm not hungry.
Well, I brought you a sandwich.
Okay. What do you think of the sentence? The tribal jurisdiction provision in the reauthorization of VAWA 2013 recognizes the rights of our Native women to be free of violence and abuse, as well as the inherent sovereign authority of tribes to protect their own citizens.
Sounds good to me.
Too many comments.
I think it's fine.
People stop listening to you.
I don't think people hear.
I hear laws. I hear laws all the time. They bother me.
I never got to sleep in on a Saturday morning because he would always drag me out of bed and throw me in the car and take me with him to tribal court. I remember he always had like these legal cases. It was a printout of a book. And he would have me take out these printout cases and we'd drive for several hours and he'd say, all right, read this to me. So I'd read the case and say, what does that mean? I tried to tell him, well, maybe this guy did this and that other person did that. He said, think about this. I was just a kid. But he was teaching me at a very young age to respect the law.
Thought about going to law school.
Don't. I had to.
Yeah, I think you go.
No, my decision was personal. Sorry, it's just not something I talked about.
Y'all don't have the TV on?
No.
Well, what the heck are you doing in here?
We're talking.
For crying out loud for Nazi spam.
Amanda, we need to come.
Don't they voted?
What?
We won.
Oh my God.
We got 68.
68 votes?
For real?
We just passed the Senate!
Thank you.
Thank me. Where are you going?
I'm gonna call my husband and my kids.
You didn't think we'd do it.
I didn't think we'd have the votes.
We did until the very last second.
Oh, it's taken me to convince you this campaign would be worth it?
I didn't think it'd be convincing.
Really?
You had me at OCO.
They took all Alaska.
What?
Alaska's been carved out.
Carved out?
Section 19.
Special rule for the state of Alaska.
No tribes in Alaska have jurisdiction.
Except Metley Cattle.
One tribe.
The other 228 are out.
Lady told me they were in.
Murray said they wouldn't be left out.
Someone lied to us.
Frankowski.
Talk about it.
Unbelievable.
Oh God, I have to call in.
Frankowski says it was a drafting error.
They're definitely an error.
Why didn't you take it out?
I couldn't.
You're on the committee.
The state lobbied hard on this one.
What was their position?
910 is needed to protect the state's rights.
You mean Alaska's rights?
Look, I tried to get it out, but we didn't have an agreement. We. I'm not the only senator from Alaska.
I'm not talking to the press.
I just need one quote.
I said no.
Senator Murkowski refused to comment.
Is this off the record or on?
We're online at 20.
It was a drafting error.
Drafting error.
I didn't know it was in there.
Who put it in?
I'm not sure.
It states explicitly. Sections 904 and 905 do not apply to tribes in Alaska, except
Metlakatla.
yeah. You didn't know the bill contained a special carve-out for your
I
state.
told you I didn't know.
Hey, Terry. Hey, Lynn.
Well, do you plan to fix it?
It's not that simple.
Alaska's not included.
Not included.
They carve you out.
But why?
Alaska's different.
Tom, it's good to see you.
Congrats on passing the Senate.
Thank you.
I hear you're representing the Eastern Band.
Yes.
Forget you're from Oklahoma.
Oh, don't worry, I still got my twang.
It's good to hear.
So, how do we get Lady Crapo through the house with the tribal sovereignty in it?
I'm not sure we can.
That's not what I wanted to hear.
Well, Boehner assigned Cantor to VAWA,
I know.
and he's opposed to tribal jurisdiction.
Based on what?
I think the Constitution.
Where does the Constitution say tribes no longer have jurisdiction?
You don't have to convince me.
I know. Sorry. So what's your plan?
I'm not sure at this point. Cantor's getting a lot of pressure from our women here in the House.
That's great.
But he managed to find the one woman who would agree with him to draft a Republican version of the bill.
With tribal jurisdiction.
Without.
So, what's you think?
It's going to be difficult.
What do you think we can do it?
He's a congressman, not a prophet.
Or a Red Bull?
Oh my gosh. Did you see this? See what? Leahy and Murkowski sent Boehner a letter.
Today?
3 hours ago, according to AP Wire.
Now, what's this?
A letter from the senators Murkowski and Leahy.
About VAWA?
I believe so, yes.
What does it say?
We should not let politics pick and choose the victims of abuse of help and wish for more.
Very clever.
Coming from the woman who carved out our sisters in Alaska.
This fundamental principle is not reflected in the House version of VAWA reauthorization legislation.
Fascinating.
It's a strong message.
Yes, it's good they both signed.
You think it'll convince Boehner to put it to a vote?
Would you like me to draft a response?
You sure?
What should it say?
I appreciate hearing their thoughts, but I don't need advice from the Senate on how to run the House.
What's it say about Alaska?
Nothing.
3 o'clock was canceled. Sit down.
I won't be long.
VAWA is making me a popular man. I've got Joe Biden beating down at my door. Every woman in the house wants to tell me what she thinks.
They're in favor.
Not all of them.
You know where I stand.
I do. Believe me, we'll get VAWA passed. Just not the Senate version.
Eric, you know I respect.
I do, and I wish I could help you. But I've got 2 committee chairmen blocking the Senate bill, and they won't budge.
Hastings? Yeah, well.
I'll tell you this. If you convince Hastings to vote for tribal jurisdiction, I'll send him to the floor.
But you and I both know that will never happen.
Feel free to come back to me if it does.
Cantor's bill removes jurisdiction.
We knew it would.
It's federal delegation.
You know that won't work.
But it will pass.
What if you draft a bill?
Me?
You're a popular guy. People take you seriously.
Not on Indian issues.
I disagree.
If I draft a bill, it'll be dead in the water. Folks will just say, well, that's just another one of those Tom Cole Indian bills.
We don't have a lot of options here. It's not like you can ask a Democrat to draft this.
Ask Isa.
Daryl Issa?
He's Lebanese, not Chickasaw. It's like a whole different tribe.
Seriously? Why Issa?
Well, he's a strong supporter of the tribes, and he's chair of the oversight.
That committee has nothing to do with this.
Exactly. That committee exists purely to torture Obama. He's overseeing all the investigations that look into Obama, including Benghazi. So we've got ourselves a bona fide, respected Republican partisan. If Darrell Ice's name is first on the bill, folks will look at it.
Okay, fine. Could you just check with him, see if he's willing to do it?
I already did.
He said yes.
There was a time when we didn't have this kind of violence.
Not like we do now.
Our men knew to view women in a sacred manner,
Not to say that we lived in a perfect society.
because we didn't.
But we certainly didn't live in a society where women are treated like this.
It was never like this.
They introduced it.
When the soldiers came to round us up,
To send us on the trail of tears.
when they first put us on our reservation,
When they made Alaska a state,
We had to hide.
we had to go to the fort to get our food, to get our rations.
You know, our commodities.
From the soldiers.
And when we went to the fort to get our food,
What's this?
I've come for my rations.
We're all out.
Please, sir, I have children.
Well, I'm sure you do, but we are all
I
out.
have to feed my children, please.
Come to the back with me. You don't get something for nothing around here. Come to the back room with me. You do want to feed your children, don't you?
my grandmother,
My grandmother, our grandmothers,
they were raped
by the government agent.
for food to feed their children.
Raped by the soldiers.
just because they could.
They had to run.
They had to hide.
They had no choice.
Our grandmothers,
My grandmother,
She's a survivor.
survivors of war.
they weren't targeted because of the color of their skin.
We aren't targeted because of the color of our skin.
We're targeted because we're sovereign women.
Native American women.
Alaska Native women.
Because we're citizens of sovereign nations.
It's been this way for 500 years.
Since 1492.
Since 1959.
Since 1978.
We're still sovereign.
I wish I could say this more exactly.
But we live in conflict every day.
It's time for change.
Deborah, Christmas, they let it die. What? Cantor refused to put it to a vote, so the bill will be passed last April. It's dead? We'll reintroduce it. Lady already has a draft going, so what good will that do? If we can pass it before the end of January, it'll be back in the House by the 1st of February, so
We can have it passed in the Senate every year for 50 years. That won't get it to the House.
I know you're disappointed.
I'm going home.
Deborah,
I haven't seen my kids in 3 months.
this isn't defeat.
What do I tell my tribe? I haven't been to a
in months. You tell them that Patty Murray says 1 month from now, we'll have VAWA 2013 passed in the Senate. And then what? You have momentum. You can't stop now.
Murray and Leahy think they'll have the vote by the end of January.
Well, that's fast.
They have the votes.
And we don't. Tell them to slow
We have
down.
momentum.
90 miles per hour down a dead-end road gets you nowhere.
We just have to convince Cantor to put it to a vote.
And he's convinced it's unconstitutional.
What's unconstitutional about recognizing a tribe's jurisdiction?
Oliphant.
Are you kidding me? Have you read Oliphant?
100 times, and it still doesn't make sense to me. How can you explain the court's decision that after hundreds of years of sovereign existence, a sovereign existence that predates the United States Constitution, that all of a sudden, in 1978, tribal governments lost that sovereignty? What's going on? I guess it just disappeared. All I know is that when I was a kid, we had jurisdiction.
I used to watch my dad preside over tribal court.
My great-grandfather was the clerk of our Chickasaw Supreme
Who
Court.
prosecuted everyone. Indian, non-Indian, black, white, French, Chinese. Didn't matter.
You committed a crime on the reservation, the tribe could prosecute you.
I was 9 when the Supreme Court decided Oliphant. I remember my dad, our tribal chair at the time, Jim Standing Bear. They went through 6 pots of coffee that night, just sitting at the tables. They were upset about what would happen to our people. I was just a kid. I could see it in their faces. Rachel, my sister, she was 6. We were scared. We'd never seen our dad so upset. We just knew something was wrong. I was 18, I went up to school, and when I graduated, I came home and went to work for the tribal police. My dad was proud. I was serving our tribe. For me, that was the hardest thing I ever did. I remember when I got the call. May 4th, 1991. It was stormy that night. Kind of Oklahoma storm as the thunder shakes the walls. The air is still, and you watch the light dance across the sky. Tribal police.
Dennis, it's Sarah.
Oh, hey.
Hey, look, these men, they just showed up. I think they were at the casino. I don't know. There were 3 of them, and they were drunk, and they attacked
Are you
us.
okay?
I ran away from
Where's Rachel?
my back
Is
seat.
she okay?
They grabbed her, and I tried to stop them, but they tried to grab me too, so I managed to run away to get my phone. But by the time I got back, Dennis, I'm really
What
sorry.
happened to Rachel?
Look, I got their license plate.
What happened to Rachel?
They raped her.
I spent all night at the hospital with my sister. Next morning, I remember talking to my dad. You just gonna accept this?
What do you want me to do?
Prosecute them. You're a judge. You can issue an order.
I can't.
I have their license plate.
Dennis.
I know. We know their names. We know where they work. We know where they live.
They're white.
So?
We don't have jurisdiction.
That's bullshit, and you know it. Oliphant.
Read it.
Look, Dad, I'm not gonna play this game.
I
with you.
said read it.
We granted certiorari. You don't even know how to pronounce it.
Read the full sentence.
We granted certiorari to decide whether Indian tribal courts have criminal jurisdiction over non-Indians. We decided that they do not.
What do you think that means?
Then I had to go to law school.
Did you read the entire opinion?
Yeah, my dad made me.
Read the last sentence.
Finally, we are not unaware of the prevalence of non-Indian crime on today's reservations, which the tribes forcefully argue requires the ability to try non-Indians. But these are considerations for Congress to weigh in deciding whether Indian tribes should be authorized to try non-Indians.
What do you think that means?
Congress has the constitutional power to recognize the inherent sovereignty of Indian tribes.
You go back and you tell Patty Murray that if she and Leahy can get through the Senate, I will do whatever the hell it takes to pass the House.
Leahy's reintroducing the bill on Monday.
Three things I'll have passed on February 1st.
We need to get our women up here.
What do you mean?
If we can do politics, that's what we've been doing, and it's not working.
I'm a lobbyist. You hired me to lobby.
We need to go where we're most powerful.
Survivors.
Pretty damn hard to tell a survivor she doesn't deserve justice.
Andrew did. He refused. He told me he never would.
But not to your face.
This movement was started by our survivors. The only way to win is to empower them.
You're right.
Let them speak for themselves.
Our
stories are powerful.
Think they agree?
Did you come up here?
Lisa Braverwood, she stood up and spoke out in 2003 when tribal leadership wanted to ignore this whole issue.
Yes, I remember.
And then again, NCAI listened. That's when they created the task force.
What about Sharon Giles?
Yes.
Melissa Merrick?
Yes, and Diane Millich.
Her story is very powerful.
They all are.
How do we get in here?
Let me see what I can do.
At first, I wasn't sure.
What would my family think of me?
What would my tribe think of me?
Why me?
Shouldn't they be asking somebody else?
And so when she asked me,
Will you come to DC?
I had to really think about if that was going to be right for me.
Would I be comfortable doing that?
I was mainly thinking about protecting my 3 daughters, especially my youngest one. She had no idea that I never had to live my life in such a way. Maybe she'd seen these things on TV or in movies. She didn't know these things happen in real life, people that she knows.
I wanted to protect her.
Shield her.
I didn't want her to know.
I can't shield her from everything.
She's already dating.
She could end up in a relationship with a young man who's not in Rome.
I'm not India.
And if you were to mistreat her,
Would I be okay knowing that I didn't do everything I could to help keep her safe?
No.
I wouldn't be okay with that, so I said yes.
I agreed to go to DC,
I agreed to share my story.
but I was diagnosed with scleroderma just last week, and I start chemotherapy in a few days.
Oh, Diane, I'm so sorry. That looks so.
I'm not asking for sympathy.
Look, if you can't come, I totally.
No, I'm coming. I have a serious illness, but this is important.
Thank you. Thank all of you. This will make a huge difference for all Native women.
I never told Terry this, but I didn't agree to share my story for her or even for the other women.
I did this for my family.
I did this for sisters, and I did this for my daughter.
my daughter was raped this past summer. Even though they wore bandanas, my daughter recognized her white skin and blonde hair. They were doing what I call hunting on our reservation. Non-Indians come, and they can rape and abuse us with impunity. My daughter was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. She didn't come and tell me right away. She watched it and she hid it. That summer, we had another little girl who was raped, and nothing was done. The county did nothing, so she hung herself. Our suicide rate on a reservation is quite huge, as it is in all of Indian country. So my daughter, hearing all of the stories about this little girl being raped and her death, she finally broke and told me what had happened to her. And my daughters know better. They don't go and try to party. I raised them well. And they know the dangers out there. I'll drive by. This is a rapist. This is a rapist. This is a rapist. Stay away from here. Because he just got released from this mental health facility. And basically, they're not going to do anything to put him away until he rapes someone. Then they will lock him up. They already know he's a sexually dangerous person. But they're going to wait until he harms someone first, rapes an Indian girl. We know the dangers of our environment, and they know that. And they know that we're walking bullseyes. We're not just targets. We're walking bullseyes. And so she went out into the middle of the night to go find my niece. She didn't want my niece to get in trouble for sneaking out, because she would have. And as my daughter was walking down the road, four white guys in a black SUV with tan leather interior were trying to get her into the vehicle. And she said no. She just kept walking. And this is the only biggest town that we have on a reservation with a population of maybe 1,000. She's walking and they're getting more persistent. She takes off running. And they chased her down. 2 guys. They jumped out of the vehicle and they drug her to it. And so one was driving, 2 held her down, and the 4th one raped her. And they had bandanas on over their noses. But she knew who they were with the white skin, the blue eyes, and the blonde hair.
knowing that that slamming to the earth with such ungodly speed, knowing that your baby was hurt. All the measures that I had to try to protect her didn't work. My daughter isn't an animal that is hunted. She's a human being.
This is sea fish? She-fish.
Yeah, my husband caught this.
It's delicious.
Here you go.
Thanks.
No, you're not supposed to drink that.
Oh my God. What is that?
Seal oil.
Eel oil. That's kind of intense.
You're just supposed to sprinkle a bit. Save room for dessert.
Dessert?
Yeah, I made a good
Dare I ask what that is?
Eskimo ice cream.
And what's in it?
Whipped sheepfish, little seal oil, Crisco, salmonberries.
Oh.
You don't have to.
Oh. Y'all should have gone all this trouble with me.
Oh, you came all the way here to Hana to visit. We have to eat.
Helen, listen, I want to talk to you about VAWA.
We're thankful for our country.
I want to talk to you about the legislation. The Senate's going to vote by the end of the month.
We'll be praying.
I want you to come to D.C.
Why me?
because people need to hear your story.
But they took Alaska out.
I'm trying to get it back in.
You and I both know Murkowski won't let that happen.
That's exactly why Congress needs to hear from you.
Just before they made Alaska a state, around 1956, the Bureau of Land Management sent surveyors out to many of the native villages in Alaska, you know, to divide up and parcel off sections of land. And then, while our families were out fishing that summer, they auctioned off our homes. When families got home to prepare for winter, they found strangers living in their houses. The government told us we could buy back our homes, but we didn't have any money. I read about your people. Before I met you, I'd never known anyone who was Cherokee. But I read about your trail of tears, and I read about how many became sick and died on that trail. Everyone keeps saying we're different. Sorry, Lynn. We can't include the tribes in Alaska in this bill. Sorry, Lynn. We'll protect Alaska Native women next time. Sorry, Lynn. We just can't do it, you know. Alaska's different. What makes us different? Because what happened to your people in 1839 didn't happen to us until 1959? Because Congress passed the Dawes Act to give all of your land to white settlers in 1887, but didn't pass ANSCA until 1971? Because the Supreme Court took away your jurisdiction in 1978, but didn't take away ours until it decided Menai in 1998? Please, someone explain to me how Alaska is different. Because from my vantage point here in Amana, it seems to me we're all the same.
You know that when I went to college, I'd grown up on the reservation, been there my whole life. I was just surrounded by family, and when I went, there were no Indians, so it was a big transition for me. And one night I was just in my dorm room, crying, having my little identity crisis, and I was sitting up against the wall, crying. And what came to me was a trail of tears. The government forced our people back to Indian Territory mine where there wasn't stay. Soldiers were rounding us up and killing us, but damn it, we stayed. That's where I was born and raised. That's where I come from. And I realized I had that vision because it was saying, Terry, you're going to spend the rest of your life making sure that that never happens again to our Indian people. And then I come up here and I realized I failed.
You haven't failed.
So it makes it so devastating.
I'll come.
Alaska is not different.
I'll come to DC with you, Terry. I'll go wherever you tell me to if you think it will help.
Miss Millich?
Yes.
Whitehall gave me your name?
He's been doing that a lot lately.
I'm writing an article about the tribal jurisdiction provision that promotes reauthorization of VAWA.
Okay. How can I help you?
Would you be willing to share your story with me?
Sure. I was born on the Southern Ute Reservation in Nashville, Colorado. My mother was a Southern Ute, and my dad was a first-generation Yugoslavian, considered an Anglo. When I was 36, I married a white man, believing he would be exactly the way my father treated my mother. He moved onto my reservation and lived with me, but we weren't married for very long before he became violent. The brutality increased, and I left him filed for divorce and an order of protection within my tribal court. One day, after the Southern Ute Tribal Court awarded me an order of protection, I was at work, and I saw him pull up in our red truck. My ex-husband walked inside the office of our construction site where we both worked, and he told me, "You promised until death do us part, so death it shall be." He was armed with a 9mm gun. If not for my brave coworker, I would not be alive today. My coworker prevented my murder by pushing me out of harm's way, and unfortunately, he took the bullet in his own shoulder. The shooting that took place, it was on the Federal Bureau of Land Management land site where we both worked. The jurisdictional issues were so complicated that after the shooting, my Southern Ute Tribal Police, the Colorado State Patrols, our county sheriffs, the city police, the federal agents, all 6 agencies were standing there using their own measuring tapes and their own maps just to determine jurisdiction. The jurisdiction of the point where the gun was fired, from where the bullet landed to where my coworker lay shot.
I got 5.
I got 4.
This is clearly federal.
You're at least 6 inches away from federal jurisdiction.
The bullet landed on federal
The
land.
gun was fired from the state.
It took hours to who had jurisdiction.
This belongs.
You take it. This is small potatoes for the feds anyway. Oh, here she is. She was hiding behind some trees.
The district attorney decided with the feds that the 6th Judicial District of Colorado would prosecute a case that no one ever asked me about. Because he was never arrested or charged of any domestic violence crimes against me on tribal land, the district treated him as a first-time offender. They offered him a plea agreement. Because he had left the scene of a crime, he was involved in a police chase, and he crossed 2 state lines. He put 6 police officers in harm's way. So our district attorney offered him a plea of aggravated driving under revocation. Do you know what that means? It means that he didn't have a driver's license while he committed this crime. He took it immediately, and he got a 10-year sentence. In the end, none of the domestic violence or the shooting incident were ever charged. It was like his attempt to shoot me and the shooting of my coworker did not happen. My tribe wanted to help me, and they would have charged the domestic violence crimes, but they could not because of the law. In the end, he was right. The law couldn't touch him. He was above the law.
Thank you for sharing your story.
We're past the Senate.
I knew we would.
We got 78.
That's 10 more than last year.
10 Republicans switched over.
That's amazing.
Under the house.
Lord help us.
Oh, I need some caffeine.
Howdy.
Terry doesn't need caffeine.
Well, I asked about bagels.
Dennis doesn't eat bagels. He only eats hippie granola stuff.
Okay. We need to figure out the schedule for the week.
I spoke to Jax.
What'd she say?
The Restoration magazine will be ready next week.
Great.
And one is setting up a meeting with Black Caucus.
Thank God for Gwen Moore.
And you said you would meet with Pelosi.
I did.
Yes, to discuss this.
Okay.
I'll be stopping Catherine before.
Where are you going?
On my list.
I got McHenry and Denham,
Who's checking?
I think he's got me.
or whatever you Oklahoma boys shared.
Special.
Okay, so we all know what we're doing then?
I just wanted to say, I read Icicle.
I know it diverges from the party line, but tribal jurisdiction is important, and for me, it's
You
non-negotiable.
got my vote.
Really?
I read their stories, Tom. And I read that article in the New York Times.
Diane's story.
I read Diane's story. I thought, what if it was my mom? Or my sister? Or if it was my daughter? Add me to your count. My vote is yes.
Kathy, I didn't expect to see you today.
I'm on my way to EC.
Well, thanks for stopping by.
Believe me, I'd rather be here visiting with you than sitting on some kind of committee.
Well, what can I do for you?
I just wanted to say I met with some of the women and I heard their stories.
Very powerful.
You got my vote.
Thank you. Well, it's up to Ken.
I know. How do we get him to move? Stubborn as hell.
I'm sure it helped if he heard from you directly.
Let me see what I can do.
Now look, I think I know what you're here to discuss.
Then let's discuss it.
I'm not putting it to a vote.
Did you read the New York Times article?
Are you kidding me? I have standards.
I hate the press as much as you do, but
Well, you are quoting.
this is about perception. 53% of voters in the last election were women. Exit polls show that Obama held a 10-point gender gap over Romney, so
I've heard the numbers, Kathy.
Eric, if you refuse to put VAWA to a vote now, like you did last year, there will be consequences for all of us.
We're so close.
I can feel it.
Think we have the votes?
The votes are there.
We got a lot of press.
It's more than just buzz, and Lisa Brunner was up here walking the halls, collecting votes, and Diane's story at the time.
I liked your quote.
Well, thanks, but seriously, the media coverage has things blowing up around here. Now, I've got members coming up to me and saying they'll vote for the Senate bill.
That's great. Let's put it to thumbs out. What's wrong?
Cantor isn't going to let this one go to a vote.
Can you talk to him?
I've tried.
We didn't come this far to give up.
Well, I don't know what I could say to convince him.
My great-grandfather was a treaty signer. He represented our tribe and came to D.C. to sign our very last treaty, the last treaty before we were removed to Indian territory. When he came here as a leader of a sovereign nation. At a time when the United States was taking everything from us. Lands we lived on, the buffalo we lived with. The only thing we managed to preserve was our sovereignty. The treaty that my grandfather signed recognized that. Like my grandfather, I'm here because I'm a representative of a sovereign nation. I know you are too. I can't find the words you need to say to convince your party leadership to put this to a vote. I know when the time comes, you will.
Tom,
Thank you for stopping by.
I'm here because I don't want to have this conversation over email.
We need a vote.
You know the party's position on tribal jurisdiction.
I do, and I'm asking you to put Icicle to a vote.
You think you can just pull the camel's nose under the tent?
No one's nose is going under any tent.
They got your nose, that's for sure.
What's that supposed to mean?
You're supposed to be our guy working with them.
I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm their guy, working with you. My great-great-great-grandfather was one of the last to travel on the Chickasaw Trail of Tears. He was only 14. He walked 80 miles, and from 1837 to 1851, the federal government moved everyone. We lost everything except our sovereignty. After we got to our new home in Indian Territory, my great-great-grandfather served as the clerk of the Chickasaw Supreme Court, and after him, my great-grandfather served as the clerk of our Supreme Court. And then he served as the last Chickasaw treasurer before Oklahoma became a state. I come from a long line of Chickasaw leaders, men and women who have served not only the sovereign tribal government, as I now serve mine, but also the state of Oklahoma and the United States. My mother was the first Native American woman ever elected to the state Senate in Oklahoma. And now here I am, in the United States House of Representatives. respect for this government, this sovereign government, and how it works. And it works because people vote. Now they vote in the presidential election, in their state elections, and here in the House, we vote. When a bill passes, it passes. When it doesn't get enough votes, it fails. But no one has to guess whether a majority of the citizens' representatives were for or against a bill when there's a vote. That's all we're asking for. That's all we want. Please, let us have the vote.
They're voting.
I remember where I was.
I remember what I was doing.
I remember what I was thinking.
And I will never forget.
I was on the floor of the
At
House.
my home in Fairfax.
On a reservation.
In Cherokee, in Alaska,
Watching CNN.
C-SPAN.
Facebook.
Watching the vote.
Working for votes.
I couldn't breathe.
I was so nervous. All I could do was pray.
What's the vote?
30.
We got 30?
We need 218.
We need your vote.
You got my vote.
31.
Thank you.
62.
My whole life.
I've dreamed of this.
85.
Prayed for this.
114.
You got my vote, Tom.
Thank you.
115.
Everything depends on this.
What if we lose?
We can't
Not an option.
201.
201.
Oh my God.
I just prayed.
To the creator.
215.
Holy smokes.
216.
We got this.
217.
For real.
218.
We did it.
218.
It's still coming.
More votes.
235.
246.
250.
285.
286.
286. 286 votes.
I couldn't believe
It
it.
didn't feel real.
I had to call Jack.
Terry was the first to text
I
me.
just started texting.
Started crying.
I can only see you. I was texting. I was crying so hard.
I scared my neighbors.
I did a victory dance.
I prayed for my sisters.
It just seemed unreal.
It felt like a dream. It was amazing.
It was humbling.
It was a miracle.
What about Alaska?
Next time. I promise.
Why were we left out?
This act.
With the tribal jurisdiction provision.
It's a step in the right
It's
direction.
an enormous victory.
But it only covers domestic violence.
And protection orders.
It doesn't cover rape.
It doesn't cover murder. It doesn't cover what happened to my daughter.
And it excludes tribes in Alaska.
It protects me.
It protects me.
It protects me.
But it doesn't protect me.
It doesn't protect me.
It doesn't protect me.
It doesn't protect me.
And it doesn't protect me. Jezra, Jenny, Jeru.
Maddie Warblow.
Joanne Hard.
Priscilla Cameron.
Lynn Hoops.
And I'm Alaska Native.
I'm an Alaska Native woman. Winga Yupiuka. I'm a Yupik. An Athabascan.
I am Inupiat.
I am Athabascan from the village of Catlett.
Village of Andrick.
Winga Yupiuwa Imama. I'm Yupik Eskimo from the village of Imama.
We were here before you brought your schools.
Before you brought your government,
Before you brought your violence.
Before you forced us to speak English.
Before you took our jurisdiction.
our ancestors have lived here for thousands of years, and
We will never leave.
VAWA, 2013.
It's a start.
But we have work to do.
Until this government recognizes our tribe's sovereign authority to protect all of our Native women.
None of us are safe.
Father, it's a miracle. Until this government recognizes the right of a Alaska Native sisters.
None of us are safe.
VAWA is a miracle.
Spiritual miracle.
But it's just the beginning.
It's just a sliver.
The first sliver of a full moon.